Welcome, Chiefs Kingdom, to another episode of The Aftermath. I am your host tonight, CJ Jones, with my brother, my friend, my buddy, Chris. How are we doing on another cloudy, kind of frustrating? The inevitable was coming Monday after a tough loss to the Denver Broncos.
You said another like this is something we've experienced before, CJ. This is something the Royals hadn't won
Yeah,
a World Series in my lifetime. The last time
we
that
did
we
go to
had,
back-to-back World Series. Very true. Very true.
yes. Oh, they hadn't won one
Fun time.
the last time that the Chiefs lost to the Broncos. So I kind of forgot what
2015.
this
Whoa,
was
what was the
like.
world like back then? Peyton Manning was playing football, and
Tom Brady had still what 3 more Super Bowls to win, 3 or 4 more Super Bowls to
oh, it
win.
was a long
Like
time ago. What was the number
that,
one album in 2015?
probably Taylor Swift something, right?
Taylor Swift, so.
I don't know what was going on back then, but it's been a long time. Like you said, inevitable. The Chiefs dropped to the Broncos 24-9, and I can't remember being this frustrated watching a football game in a long time,
Week
my
one
friend.
was the last one for me. The Detroit game was just so disgusting. All the drops. This was kind of similar to that one for me. Like everything we did wrong just kept on piling up. Just like a drop here, missed tackle, missed throw, just kept on piling up, and a loss happened.
Right, but that one had a little bit of like, your second and third best player weren't playing. Chris Jones
Exactly.
was
It's still
watching,
like silver,
Travis
either way,
wasn't like
silver linings for
like
sure.
there you felt like you could talk yourself out of that one a little bit more. This one, it
Facts.
was like you had everyone outside of Nick Bolton. Drew Tranquil clearly was not an issue out there.
No,
I
he
thought
was
he played
great.
well. So it's like we're missing one guy, the backup set up. Like this is your team. And you went out and put out that performance, like
Yeah, it's nasty.
it was tough, and like I don't want to hear this flu game, like whatever. Like I'm
Wasn't
sure it
nothing
was
wrong with
a
that.
little bit of a factor, but if you weren't told that Patrick had the flu beforehand and you just watched that
You
game,
wouldn't have known.
you wouldn't have known. You would have just
He-
said, "Oh, it's a little bit of a down game for Bo, but not a bad game by any stretch of the means." Like he
Exactly.
always has one bad throw, pretty much a game, and misses with his wide receiving core. Um, but yeah, let's just start, man. Like, what was in your mind just watching it? What was the biggest reason for this loss?
I mean, it starts up top for me. I always hold the coaches most accountable before I go
Yeah,
down to the players. So I'm always going to hold Andy Reid, Matt Nagy, the whole offensive staff accountable. I have nothing to say about Spags. You can probably nitpick about something they can do, but from the defensive standpoint, they did their job. Like, beside that garbage time touchdown that Miko gave them on the goal line, they had 14 points for the day?
right.
And
And
that
those
put them
were
at
on a
21.
50-yard drive and a 39-yard
Yeah,
drive.
all their drives were at plus territory. So no drives were like from the 25 and on. They were all plus money. So if that one touchdown that Miko gives them overall today, the defense only gave up 2 touchdowns, so 14 points. 17 if you want to give them that garbage time field goal. So the defense did their job, again, not giving up more than 21 points. We've said that the entire year. So Spags in the defense, no Nick Bolton. You gave us a chance to win. Now the offense, Andy Reid. Andy Reid's offenses before November. Chris, what do we know about these offenses before November under Mr. Reid?
They give up on the run. Doesn't matter.
Every time.
And it's so inferior but they actually had started to have a trend of not giving up on the runs. I know it's
Started.
still like we'd still seen some games where Pat had not unnecessarily thrown for 40 times on games that they didn't need to. But like for the most part, Pacheco has been having a very solid start to the season, getting a lot of carries and
It's one of his best years for after Curry, for sure.
right. And it was just one of Andy's better years on sticking to the run, probably because he had a
Facts.
running back for the first time
Facts.
since Kareem Hunt days. But man, did it disappear in a hurry
Just like that.
Sunday. Like I don't understand because the Broncos defense we know is bad. 2 weeks ago, this team put up a lot of points, or excuse me, a lot of yards, but just couldn't execute in the
The red
in
zone.
the red zone. And that
Yeah.
was the same thing again today. And they felt like they did nothing to correct it.
3 red zone trips, 9 points. Like if we score 21 points and we don't give up that drop punt from Miko, we win this game 24-14, 21-14. And we get out of there with a dub. But we don't score touchdowns, we kick field goals, and they find a way to score and we don't. Simple as that.
Yeah. And it just comes down to like, again, everyone knows about the receivers. I know that's where 90% of the conversation has been today.
Boy, oh
Guess
boy.
what? Your deficiencies come out in losses.
Facts.
And the wide receiver is a deficiency we've known about since draft day finished.
Last year.
Like
This ain't nothing new.
yeah, this is not anything new. Why are we spending so much time talking? Why is Chiefs Kingdom spending so much time talking about the receivers? This is a known issue,
Exactly.
and then when you lose, that issue becomes more relevant. The reason this team lost is, for number one, the play calling was atrocious. You have a quarterback that's sick and a receiving core again
Bingo.
that we know isn't good.
Keyword, so you knew before the game started.
Pacheco got 8 carries.
8. He had 11 touches
Clyde and
total.
Clyde and McKinnon each got 1 and 2. McKinnon got 2 for -2 yards, and Clyde got 1 for 4. Pacheco got 8 for 40. And that was that. Like, the game was 14-9 for how long?
For like 2.5 quarters.
So why are we getting away from the run? It's not like
all
you're
we
down
needed
2
was one
scores.
touchdown, bro. We would have won the game. Literally. If we score one touchdown and make it 16, it's a game, bro. I mean, we would have won for 2, and it would have turned to 17-14. We would have won the game with ease. I know they weren't going to score on us. The only reason they got that last touchdown is because Miko dropped the ball on the goal line on the punt return. They don't get that. They weren't scoring on us, bro.
Their touchdown drives was first the 39-yard one,
then the 50-yarder,
and then the 50-yard one that was set. So the 39-yard one was set up by a good punt return.
Yeah, great.
The 50-yard one was set up by the Marquez Valdez-Scantling
fumble. Yep, middle of the field. Yep.
And then they got a 10-yard one on the McColl fumble punt, and then they got a field goal there at the end after 4th and 22 where they had to go for it, and they got out the 20. Like the defense, we don't need to talk about the defense at all for
ever. They're elite. Like, bro. They're elite.
Did the Denver have a few long drives that and
that third quarter drive
was the rush defense perfect? No.
If you want to nitpick, yes.
If you want to nitpick, yeah. If you want to nitpick, the defense is the last thing.
Bottom of the bottom.
Why this team lost on Sunday, which is, again, just crazy to say.
Fact. We've never been able to say that in the Chiefs era, ever. With
both losses, the defense has not been at fault at all, not even a little bit, which is crazy.
Exactly. I think they were on the field for a total of 34 minutes.
Yeah, 36, I think is what it is.
36. So like literally like an entire half they were playing football.
It's 34. Yeah.
So I can't blame a defense when obviously your offense went out and got 9 points, had back-to-back 3-and-outs multiple times, and you're putting the defense back on the field who just had a 7-minute drive. Yeah, let's go 3-and-out, give them the ball. Like you just saw them be on the field for literally half of the entire third quarter. The defense was on the field, just milking the clock like they're supposed to do, because they know in their mind the Chiefs are one of the best third quarter football teams in the league. We don't want to give them the ball back because we know they're going to get going. So let's milk the clock. And perfectly correct, they did that. But when we get the ball back, what do, Chris? 3-and-out. Yeah. Next time we try to get a stop after Justin Reed blocked a punt, big momentum Swift, what do we do again? Now we want to muff a punt. Everything we did to lose the game, we literally did it. Like muffing punts, 3-and-outs, fumbling the football, going for it, Pat fumbling the football in his drop back, holding the ball, going for field goals. Like everything we were not supposed to do, we did to lose that game last night. So I can't really fault one person. Everybody has a person they're cool with. They're upset. Some people hate Skyy today. Some people hate Andy. Some people hate Nagy. Some people hate MVS. They're all at fault for the loss. My only qual with everyone is, Chris, stop trying to put the blame on one person. There's no one person that would have changed that game for us last night. Everybody needs to be better from the top down. I just start with the coaching because, like you said, they're the one that set the table for everyone else.
Yeah, no, the coaching is number one. But if we're gonna put it on a player, and I get it, the Chiefs had 57 offensive plays, so there were a lot of opportunities for plays out there. But if there was one play that could have been made that would have changed the entire tone of that game, it was that 4th down play to Skyy Moore with 8 minutes left in the 4th quarter. Like,
that would have made the game, 17. Yep.
Like, I get it. We can talk about the play call. We can talk about Pat's decision making. We can talk about all that on a 4th down play. That was that the right decision for Pat to throw it deep to Skyy Moore? Probably not. But it was one-on-one coverage. It was perfect throw, and it hit him square in the hands. Like,
I know the DB grabbed your arm, but you still can catch the ball, Skyy. You're good enough to make that play. You can make that play, bro.
And if you're in the NFL, you should be good enough to make that play.
Like, this doesn't – you still should catch the ball. I know he's grabbing your arm, but you still should catch it. You feel me?
Yeah, just it's – that was what was frustrating to me. I get it. Again, plenty of other plays out there. Like MVS – you take the MVS fumble away. Who knows what happens. If you take away Pat's first – like, again, but in the 4th quarter when you have all these mistakes have already been made and you have a chance to make up for it, and he repeatedly does not come up with it. His biggest 2 plays of his career are a wide open touchdown pass in the Super Bowl and a wide open. Well, the punt return was I guess also I forgot was gift wrapped to him. That was a terrible punt by the Bengals punter. But what I was thinking was that would seal the Jacksonville
game. Deep over, yeah.
Another play where he was wide open. That it was just it was one of those plays that Mahomes made. Like, dude has not made a contested catch, has not made a memorable play where he wasn't
especially down the field
15 yards of separation.
That's a fact. Like the two biggest plays for me in yesterday's game were the Skyy drop for one. That was definitely a play you should have made. That changed the entire momentum. It's the McCole Hardman one for me. You've seen us just get a stop. We're trying to get the ball back.
Yeah.
For one, he shouldn't have even caught it. He should have let the ball bounce because if anything, it goes in the end zone. But if anything, if you are going to try to catch the ball, Miko, you're an all-pro punt returner. And he was accountable. He said it on Twitter. That's on me. I have to be better. So I'm not going to kill him for it. But that drop for Miko killed all the momentum we had. We just had got the stop, Chris. It was still 9-14 at that point. One touchdown, like you said, changes the entire momentum for that game. And then you drop the ball on the 5. Like, both drops are inexcusable. Skyy's and Miko's. I'm not excusing either one of them. Those are the two biggest plays for me, for sure, in the entire game.
Yeah, there's just so many things, and like again,
those are just momentum killers. Like, bro, we had everything going our way, and then just like that.
Right, and it's like you had, and with the defense balling, man. I mean, 6 sacks,
Bro.
George wrecking havoc.
Another turnover, 8 weeks straight, bro. 8 weeks.
Willie getting on top of another fumble, man. That dude just finds the ball when it's loose. Like
Chris got a sack, and it seemed like he had a quiet day. He still got a sack.
Right. Like it was just and people always like to throw around the Broncos wanted more. I don't think that's necessarily true. We can talk about the preparation the coaching staff had and whether they took it seriously. Like
judging one, I mean, people are always going to say you want it more when you lose. I'm like, does that mean we want it less?
Yeah, that always drives me insane.
We wanted it more. How you judge that?
Say that, like, and again, I'm kind of going off just things I've been seeing and then how people have been coping with the loss. It's like just they played bad football. Like, if you ever wanted to do well at work and just had a day that where you know.
Sometimes you have hot stretches at work where you're going really well, then you may have a bad week at work. It is what it is. Bad week.
Did you not want to try to keep getting a promotion or have a good day at work?
Like, had a bad week at work.
Just had a bad week, and that was what yesterday was.
Parents have bad weeks. Hey, bro, I didn't coach my kid up this week to be the best child he can be. Exactly. I gave him some bad advice, or I didn't set him up to succeed. It's life, bro. We all mess up. Teachers mess up. Police officers mess up, doctors mess up, and coaches mess up. It's life, bro. It is what it is. I'm not going to condemn you and say, oh, the sky is falling. We had a bad day. But does that mean anything changes? Did you change anything of your perspective for this Chiefs team going forward based off this loss?
No, I didn't learn anything. I didn't learn anything. Again,
the defense is still elite, and the offense still has struggles. It's the same thing we've been saying all year. I didn't say anything different.
Your strengths are highlighted in your wins when Travis Kelce's going off, and your weaknesses are highlighted in losses where your receivers can't catch the ball.
Is when you fumble the ball on the ground. Your highest paid receiver fumbled. What do you want him to do?
Yeah. Didn't even feel like he knew he was there on that MVS play. Like, no spatial awareness at all. He turned around, expecting open field, and boom, there's a safety right, or it was the linebacker in Tampa too, right there, Jewel.
Bro, that Miko took me. I was in the sports book watching the game with some friends. That Miko blew me, bro. I was watching it. I was just like in shock. Like, I know he didn't just drop this. Like, after the big return he just had last week. And then somebody had to blaspheme to text me and say, and it's so disgusting. Why is Miko back there? I'm like, what are you talking about? He's an all-pro punt returner. What do you mean, why is he back there?
They traded for him mostly to do that.
Bro, he just had a big return last week. You told me you love Miko. Now you're asking me questions. Why is he back there? What are you talking about?
You want Justin Watson with his arm brace back
with
there?
With an arm brace? That's what you want? Yeah, then he's going to be doing
that's the only other option.
Like, come on, bro. You want KT back there? He gonna hurt himself.
Kadarius Toney hurt himself 3 days into training camp taking punts.
The third punt return of the year. I got it, coach. My knee. God, coach, my knee.
That's another thing we could talk about too. Is like, people are also starting to turn on KT. Well, starting to. KT's been a topic point.
The conundrum.
But like, he had 12 snaps yesterday, and people were like, "Oh, the Chiefs were talking about him being the number one receiver and a playmaker." Dude got hurt on the third play of training camp. That before quarterbacks, before all the offensive linemen had walked down the hill for the first day of training camp, KT was in the tent.
He literally catching punts and he walked off the field. I'm like, what's wrong? He's like, he tweaked his knee. I'm like, he was just over there dancing after he caught the ball. What's wrong with him? Like, he hurt himself dancing? Like, oh my God. Like,
so the coaching staff seen this. They've also seen the receiving core, and they're like, yeah, okay, you get 10 to 15 plays a week out there.
That's it, big fella. That's it.
If we're gonna make a run, we need you.
Facts.
There may be some deficiencies. You may not have the best hands. You may not be always the smartest player, but like, you're clearly a playmaker. Like, you cannot deny that Kadarius Toney is a playmaker. Given multiple opportunities, we're gonna need you healthy. So that's why he's not getting snaps. It's nothing more than that. Anyone making it more than that is just not paying attention. But
it is what it is. We know who KT is. He's a great player for us. And me and Chris were saying this before the season. If KT plays more than 10 games this year, I will be ecstatic. So far, he's on track. He's on track to do that. If KT makes it to December and he's healthy and ready to roll, Chris, for the playoffs, I don't care what he's done the last 3 months. I really don't. Make it to December, get him healthy, and let's roll.
As soon as the Chiefs have clinched a playoff spot, I think KT needs to sit down for the 2 or 3 weeks or whenever
bro,
that
you
is.
can take 2 weeks off, bro. We need you for December, bro. We don't need you for the regular season, bro. We straight. Exactly.
And again, it's not even like he's like an amazing receiver. Like I don't want people to think that I'm sitting here saying that he's a number one like the Chiefs were claiming he is. He's just a guy that can make plays for you, and those are few.
He's very explosive when he uses the correct.
Yeah, those are few and far between on this Chiefs roster. So
the most explosive receiver that we have without the ball in their hands, but they're even better with the ball in their hands, are Rashee Rice and Kadarius Toney. When they have the ball in their hands, they're just different. They make guys miss. They break tackles. They're special guys that you want to save for the season. Obviously, Rashee Rice is a rookie, so he's a little more spry and has a little more less tread on the tires. KT's an amazing receiver, but if any of you thought that KT was going to get all of these touches coming into the season, you were sadly mistaken. I get what Tom Pelissero and Mike Gelaforo and all the other reporters were telling you in the local media about how they love KT. What do your eyes tell you? An amazing player, but he can't stay healthy. So why would they overuse him in games where they can still win and win ugly? If we're 6-2 with or without KT, I'd rather have it with KT being healthy. I don't really care about KT being used right now. So I agree.
So, and another thing on the receivers that I want to get into a little bit is we talk about trust a lot and maybe lack thereof. How are you ranking the trust? Like obviously Trav's one. Like and then there's
Justin Watson.
Yeah, that's not
Justin Watson too. Probably next would be Rashee.
Yeah, it's either Rashee or
MVS
or Noah. No, Noah is.
You think Noah?
Dude, like he doesn't get as many snaps.
He's throwing jump balls at MVS. I'll be like, bro, you really trust MVS?
Yeah, that's true. But like Noah, like I don't know.
You trust Noah too.
Like
we all agree that like KT and Skyy are at the bottom.
Yes,
we all agree.
KT and Skyy at the bottom. Like I think there's a little hesitancy with Nicole right now, just because he's coming back into the fold. Yeah. But like I don't know. But my main point for even asking that was to bring up Noah Gray and being like, he may not get a ton of snaps, but like he makes the plays when given the opportunity.
Right.
And that's again something that this team. That's crazy that you can make an argument that Justin Watson and Noah Gray are in the top 4 of trust for Patrick Mahomes right now. Like that's where this receiving core team is.
It's nasty, bro. And it's so funny because we literally were having these conversations last year. Does he trust Juju? Is MVS going to get open? And then as the season goes along, things just slowly start to build. But it's hard to give any people reassurance right now when it looks ugly. And I know it's early because we're halfway through the season now with 8 games down. So we have time to figure this out because obviously we have Miami coming up. We have the bye. We still have, and even on the back half of our schedule, I'm not trying to look ahead too much. We still play Green Bay, who's a bad football team this year.
Right.
We still play the Raiders twice, who's a bad football team this year. We play the Patriots, who are probably going to have a top 10 pick this year. Another team that you respect all these football teams, but the teams those are some weeks where your offense have opportunities to get right in said markets, just like we've had opportunities early in the first half of the season. So you have your big games, like you have Philly, you have Buffalo, Cincinnati. Thankfully, all of those are at home, so that's great to see. Amen. But we do have a lot of games where the offense here that does have chances to correct their mistakes. And after the bye, me and Chris said we expect to see some of those things be corrected. Like pick your 3 receivers, have a system in place, be more consistent. Those are the things we want to see going forward.
Right. No, I agree 100%. And thing is, a lot of people are also asking for this team to make a trade at wide receiver. We both agree.
We already did. It was Miko.
Yeah, exactly. We both agree that move's not coming. There's no KJ Osborne. Okay, yeah. So having said that, knowing that this is the team we got what we got. Can this team win the Super Bowl?
Absolutely.
Okay.
No doubt in my mind. I'm more confident in this team going to the Super Bowl because we have a top 3 defense. Last year, we couldn't say that. When have we ever been able to say that sentence in the Mahomes era? The last time I said this team had a top 3 defense, Alex Smith was at quarterback. That's the last time I was able to say that. When we had Justin Houston, Tom Brady, Eric Berry, Flowers, and the crew. That's the last time I could say that statement. I've never been able to say that in the last 5 years, 6 years now. So now I can legitimately say this team has a top 5 defense. Are we good enough to stop any quarterback on any given day? Absolutely. If we line up against Philly right now, I'm ready. If we line up against Cincinnati, I'm ready. San Fran, I'm ready. All these quarterbacks that people are comparing us to and our offenses to have all had sputters, just like Pat has. Brock Purdy looked bad at times. Jalen Hurts looked bad at times. Lamar Jackson looked bad at times. I'm not trying to excuse anyone and say, oh, Pat's playing amazing, because we're going to get on Pat. Pat needs to be held accountable. I'm not lying. He's done some bad things this year. But all I'm saying is all these other teams have flaws just like we have flaws. So if the Chiefs' one flaw has never been having a good defense, well, what's to say they can't beat those teams now when we have a proven numbers and facts that this defense is elite? I'm not making this up anymore. This isn't week 4, and me and Chris are trying to project and just be homers. We have 8 weeks of data. This Chief defense is elite, Chris. So why would I doubt them now?
No, exactly. I agree with you 1,000,000%. And it's like people, they did it last year, and the people that say, oh, they had Juju
that
last
defense was
year.
average.
Yeah, that the defense makes up for the gap between Rashid Rice and Juju, which is which is getting smaller by the week, by the way. And so that's really the only difference in this receiving core is those two, while the defense is 10 times better.
Not even close from last year.
So if the Chiefs can be a play away from going to the Super Bowl, a coin flip away from going to the Super Bowl with the 2018 defense, if the Chiefs can be 2 tackles away from being 3-time Super Bowl champs, like they can go to the Super Bowl with this team. Like, I don't know why. So there's got people out there, and some of you know who I'm talking about, who he is adamant, absolutely adamant that this team will not make a playoff run without a wide receiver. And it's like,
get him, Chris. What did he say? Get him, Chris.
And it's like, bro, like, I
know you want a receiver, but calm down.
Yes, it's this team is better than it was last year on paper, anyways. Like the offense is taking a clear step back. I get that, but you still have two of the best players to ever do it on the opposite side, with one of the best head coaches to ever do it, with the defense that I know this technically this week ends the streak of like 20 points or less for the defense, but this defense played one of their best games of the year.
If we're being honest, this defense really only gave up 14 points. I'm not giving them that last touchdown's on me.
Barely giving them 14 because they only gave up one drive over 40 yards.
That was like we said, one drive was a fumble off MVS. The other drive was a great return from the Broncos. You give them that credit. And then the third touchdown came from Miko dropping the ball inside the 5-yard line. So the defense really only gave up 14 points if we want to get technical. The defense didn't give up 21 points this week. So that number still holds for me. I'm not counting that last touchdown. If we're really watching the film, but with the defense, points, yeah, I'm not. For me, the defense only gave up, if you want to be honest, 14 to 17 points. They didn't give up 24. That's not on them. So
I'm saying 7, bro. Like I'm being even nicer.
Be honest, it really is.
I'm saying 7.
So like I'm not mad about this defense at all. And if I've never seen Mahomes in January ever have a defense as good. So why am I upset? Because I know if Pat Mahomes is in the playoffs and you give him the ball back, he scores points. He's never had a defense as good. If this defense sees a Joe Burrow, a Josh Allen, I'm not worried at all. A Lamar Jackson, I'm not worried at all. Because I know we've gotten stops on those quarterbacks before with much lesser talent. And this defense is 10. The gap between the offense taking a step back and the defense taking a step up is a mountain. The defense got 10 times better than what the offense is taking back from an offensive standpoint, in my opinion. I don't think it's even close what the defense is doing right now.
Yeah, and again, we talk about it every week. That D-line is maybe the most underrated, underappreciated D-line in all of football.
Arguably the best in the league.
Yeah,
sure.
It's every week you can start to hear the announcers more. I know it was Kevin Harlan and Trent Green, guys very familiar with this team.
Trent, baby.
But Trent was pissing me off, actually. Trent was feeding
Trent had some questionable statements.
Trent was feeding into some of you out there hate that Tony Gonzalez for what he said to the Atlanta media. What Trent Green did yesterday about feeding into that flag BS, that flag bias narrative, was arguably worse than anything Tony G ever said. So I don't want to hear it.
Trent, what are you doing, baby? Come on, bro.
Like Cortland Sutton got that PI, and he's like, "Well, yeah, I'd be mad too if Snead was holding me all game." It's like, bro, like, what are you doing? So that was pissing me off. But I don't want this to distract me from the point I was making. Was that Mike Dana week after week is starting to be a name that these announcers are starting to like, are starting to be like, there he is again. Like he's the third or fourth person. He's the fourth or fifth person you think about when you think about this D line, but dude just keeps on making plays.
Eating, bro. I think George Karlaftis right now. I looked at the stat. I think he's top 10 in pressures this year.
Yeah.
If we're calling the Chris Jones Sack Nation, George Karlaftis is Pressure Nation, baby. We got
He's
Sack Nation and
freshman.
Pressure Nation, baby. Shout out George, man. But he
Oh
finished this
my
week. Shout out George.
gosh.
He finished this week.
He
Shout out
did.
George, man.
He did finish this week, so it
2
has
weeks in a
been
row. Shout out to George, man. Keep it going, baby.
so it is crazy that George is up to already tied what he did last year in sacks, right? He's up to 6.
Yeah, career year already.
So last year in
Already.
17 games he had 6. This year in 8 games he has 6. I mean,
Crazy. He's on
this
pace for like
team,
12. It's crazy.
this team is gonna have 3 guys in double digits in sacks with a Amenahue. We'll see what
I
he's
think he got
able
a
to
half
do.
one yesterday, I think.
Yeah. But yeah, and again, I said a million times this podcast. Your deficiencies are more relevant in your losses, and so that's why everyone's harping on this receiving core. But
Exactly.
haven't even had the bye yet. You can see the growth in Rice, who I think his ceiling is a 2. I don't think he's a number 1. I think he
Yeah, I
can be
think
a
2 is
really
great.
good
For
2.
sure.
And while you still have Travis Kelce, which you currently do, still playing at a high level, that's all this team needs. Pacheco is a good running back. So you have a good running back, you have a number 1 option, and you have an emerging number 2 option.
And you have 2 great running backs.
Yeah, and you have a great pass catch. Pacheco's growth in the pass game has been really nice to see.
Oh, yeah, he's been great receiving this
And
year.
then what Jerick McKinnon does is
In the red
also
zone
is electric.
Yes,
And then whatever you get from McCall and KT, I'm not even talking about Skyy no more. Skyy is in my dog out.
Until he does something, he got to kind of talk about.
MVS, Watson, like
this is enough. That's more than enough, bro.
It's more than enough, especially if the defense is top 10. They're playing top 3, but as long as they're playing top 10 level defense,
we know how to. We literally saw
worried.
teams get to the Super Bowl on the back of defenses. When the Bengals went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago, I know everyone loves talking about Joe Burrow and the receivers. That defense is the reason they won. They went to the Super Bowl. I don't think people watch those games. Their defense were holding teams under 24 points, under 21 points a game. That's why they won.
Yeah, with Hubbard and Henderson putting their ears back, with Jesse
Exactly.
Bates,
Logan
who's
Wilson.
not there anymore, but like in the back,
dogs
like,
over there.
Yeah, they were flying around. They don't get enough credit for that half. That I know Mahomes played terrible in the second half of that 2021
The defense is good.
AFC Championship game that the Bengals won, but like a lot of that had to be on the Bengals defense. So yeah, I'm with you. Like you have a good defense like the Chiefs do. You're going to be in these games. It will be interesting to see how they do in this stretch with Miami by Eagles.
2 good games for
how
sure.
How they look in these next 2 games in the next 3-week period. And we'll get more into Miami later this week. But again, it sucked that they lost to the Broncos. It sucked. It was an ugly game. But like at the end of the day, it's nothing happened that we didn't already know.
Because you can't get too high, because if we win that game, you know what you're going to tell me? It's just one game, Chris. You beat the Broncos. You've beaten them 16 times. Who cares? It doesn't matter. Oh, but since we lost, now you want to make sure it's a big deal. If it's not a big deal when you win, it can't be a big deal if you lose. Because at the end of the day, Chris, it's just one game. So I can't get too high if we win or get too low if I lose. Because if I win that game, it's just one. If I lose that game, it's just one. It doesn't change any outlook on this football team. Because if we ever see this, we've been saying this for years. If Pat Mahomes ever got a top 5 defense, they can beat any. We have the most wins in a 5-year span in NFL history with average to below average defenses. What do you think Pat Mahomes is going to do with defense? Not only this year, Chris, the defense is going to get better. We know that, right? With draft picks and more guys. When the defense gets better next year, what's going to happen then? If Mahomes ever got stops and gets the ball back, we know he's going to score. It's cute now to say the offense is struggling. It sounds good now. But when they have a bye and a week off to figure it out and things get turned around and they start looking like they actually give Pacheco the football, Jet McKinnon is actually back and getting touches. We actually allocate which guys we want to get targets to in the offense. All the takes are cute now. Like I said, bookmark everything, Chris. I keep receipts. Keep receipts, guys.
Right. I need to see a lot more consistent before I start freaking out. Other than
exactly, like I just saw the Chargers game, the offense looked great, and then they go back to doing what they did 2 weeks ago versus the Broncos, and that goes into another point. Does Andy Reid not take the Broncos seriously? Is Andy just like when the Broncos come on the screen, hey, we're ready for Miami? Is that how we're feeling right now? Because I feel like the game plans for the Denver is like giving I don't care, just throw something out there, we'll try to find a way to win.
That's what it looked like to me, man. Like it was handoffs to Kadarius Toney, swing passes to Jet on third and
short,
2,
deep bombs on 4th and 1. I'm like, bro, you need a yard.
We spent 20 minutes of today's podcast talking about the offense and the receivers and the issues, but it comes down to if you give the ball to Pacheco 10 more times and run normal pass routes on 3rd and 2 and not gimmicky plays, You
win that
probably
game.
still win. Like McCole
Football's
probably
not
isn't feeling the
hard.
pressure to, make that punt return. Skye's not put in a position where he has to make a play late in the fourth quarter. Like it was.
Football's not hard, bro. It's a very simple game. Run the football. Your offense is reeling back in by running the football. It calms
Exactly.
them down. It calms Andy down. Nagy, Pat. The defense gets a break and they can get a breather. It settles everybody in when you run the football. Milks the clock. It literally gets everybody back on track. And Andy's like, nah, let's go. Just drop back and throw the ball 3 straight times. Like I said in the Denver game 2 weeks ago, if Andy's not serious, Chris, why should I be serious? He doesn't trip, so I'm not going to trip.
Right. Yeah, exactly. 57 plays. They threw it 41 times.
40 passes in a game where your quarterback was clearly struggling. Like, let's just keep throwing.
They called 16 run plays, and one of those run plays was to Kadarius Toney, and another one was to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So I don't know how serious they were about running the football
at all. Pacheco was averaging almost 5 yards a carry. He's like, yeah, we're just going to stop running the football.
Yeah,
like, what? We had like back-to-back 3 and outs. Let's just throw the ball 3 more times. I'm like, bro, run the ball at least for a couple of minutes. Jesus, at least give him a chance to breathe. Jesus.
Right.
The defense was on the field for 34 minutes, and they still held this team to, like Chris said, they really only gave up 1 real touchdown.
Yeah.
And they were on the field for literally half the game. Like, yeah, don't talk to me, bro. They're not serious.
So, yeah, it was a tough one. It wasn't fun, but again, at the end of the day, on to Miami, which we will be getting into more later this week.
Germany.
I know the Dolphins are leaving, I think, today.
They left today, Monday.
And the Chiefs aren't leaving until after practice Thursday. I think is the report. So
I think I heard a report today that the Chiefs on all their other overseas games have always left on Thursday. So this is kind of like routine for them. It's like their normal operation.
They played 2 other overseas games.
They played the Mexico game versus the Chargers or the Raiders who played over there?
It was the Chargers.
And then we played the London game.
Yeah, and that was against
Jacksonville? I thought it was Tennessee. It was an AFC South team.
Yeah, it was one of those. I don't remember, but yeah. So Jeremy's a little further. We'll see how it goes, but we will get more into that later this week. CJ, before we get out of here, where can the good people find all these hot takes you got?
Amazing takes. And just so you guys know, I've been on a little heater right now when it comes to bets. So if you want to get some betting advice, I'm not trying to brag. I've been hitting a lot. So if you want some advice, you need some bets you like for the week, I've been hitting on baseball. Ask Chris. I've been hitting on NBA and NFL and college football. I'm kind of on a heater right now. I'm not bragging. Knock on wood. I need this heater to continue. So It was kind of ugly yesterday, but the Chargers saved me. So, but you guys can definitely find me on Twitter at CGZ81, CJEEZY81. If you guys want gambling advice, you want to talk football, fantasy football, X's and O's, I'm always down to have a good conversation.
For sure. Yeah, he's been on fire. He's been texting me his stuff, and it's like, man, bro, you like what was that? $1,000 you won on some baseball last week?
I did win a K off baseball last week. It was pretty nice.
Bro, seriously, maybe you should ditch me and start your own betting show with those kind of numbers. So.
Hey, I'll get my advice from Chris when it comes to baseball. He confirmed my thoughts. I was like, Chris, I kind of like that. He was like, that probably could happen. And the next thing you know, I told Chris whenever he's in the city, drinks on me.
Chris there we go. He's giving me too much credit. But I appreciate it, buddy. And as always, you can follow me on Twitter at 10penny88. Also, please go check this out. If you're listening to this on Spotify, go check out the KC Sports Authority on YouTube. They do a lot of good work. We got our podcast. They got some KU stuff. They're getting into basketball. I know later today they are recording their basketball preview for the Hawks. I know only half of you care about that, but like,
hey, KU got a big win. Shout out to KU.
And then they do their football too, and that'll be coming out this week too. Probably tomorrow as well. With this is as you're listening to this, it's already out. The KU Oklahoma recap on KU getting their first win against Oklahoma since 1997. So please go check them out.
Oklahoma territory, guys.
Ooh, yeah. It was. I was strutting my stuff at work today. Let me tell you, the first thing I put in the group chat was Rock Chalk Jayhawk. And everyone was like, finally was like, what is the point of Rock Chalk? So I had to educate. I had to be like, the campus is built on limestone. Back in the early 1900s, the professor came out with Rock Chalk Jayhawk. It's not just some crazy thing we say. It's something that we just beat OU's ass with. So had to educate the people down here today. But seriously, go check them out. Make sure to hit a like and subscribe there. We always appreciate the support. And we're going to get to this Miami preview, put this Broncos game behind us, and just move forward. So as always, we appreciate you guys. And we'll talk to you next time.
Go Chiefs.